What is going on, everybody? This is Michael from Cartoon Universe, and today we have yet another top 10. You guys voted using the Cartoon Amino app, and these are the results. As you can see by the title today, we'll be discussing your top 10 90s Nicktoons. So get ready for a healthy dose of nostalgia, and for our younger viewers, I'm sorry, but our childhood was much cooler. Anyway, let's get on with the countdown. Number 10, Doug. Oh man, did this show speak to the nerds and losers like my middle school self. Basically, Doug chronicles the adventures of Doug Funny, who is usually the butt of every joke and has serious anxiety issues about the littlest things. And those little things typically turn out to be no big deal, as implied by me calling them little things. Basically, every episode goes something like this. Oh god, this one thing is gonna ruin my life forever. Hey Doug, chill out fam. Oh alright, the end. In all seriousness, I like the way Doug's mind blew everything out of proportion because that's genuinely how it felt to be his age in school. If you were fortunate enough to grow up in a decent neighborhood, that girl you liked liking you back was a big deal. What that bully said at school really did matter. And it really was a big deal if you got invited to a dinner party where they were serving liver and then they found out you didn't like liver. Really, Doug? Line up a bit, dude. But it was all good because his somewhat anthropomorphic dog, Porkchop, and his best friend Skeeter, who's totally the token black friend. I know he's blue, but he's definitely the black friend, let's keep it real. Always had his back no matter what was going on, and if worse came to worse, he could always just daydream and become one of his alter egos like Quailman. In his imagination, he could become whatever he wanted to be without the pressures of middle school getting to him. Because let's face it, while those issues seem rather insignificant once you're past that stage in your life, middle school can be pretty hard, unless you were a popular kid. We all had that Patty Mayonnaise, and we all had that Roger class. And in fact, this is the one time in people's lives that most people say they would never go back to. I know I wouldn't. And do you know why? Because clearly everyone in middle school has some sort of skin disease. Moving on. Number 9, All Real Monsters. All Real Monsters is basically Monsters University, except instead of scaring humans to obtain screams in order to gather energy, they scare people because, well, it's just what they do. Scaring's pretty much a college major in this universe, at least for monsters. It follows our main heroes, Ickis, Oblina, and Crumb, as they attend the monster school and try to get scares, although they don't always make the most responsible decisions. Partly because their instructor, the Grumble, is kind of a tool who doesn't seem to have much faith in his students and is constantly being hard on them. One thing I really do love about the show is the designs of the characters. They're so unique. I mean, look at Crumb. Like, what? He's a chubby sack of torso with legs holding eyes. So weird and awesome at the same time. This is one of those shows I didn't particularly love as a kid, but if it was on, it was on. Like, I probably wouldn't turn it off if there was nothing else on. It had a pretty solid run, going for 4 seasons, and I can see why. It's pretty damn enjoyable and creative. Too bad we won't be seeing them again. Oh wait, number 8, Rocket Power. Rocket Power, yes. This show came out in '99, but I'll allow it. I loved this show as a kid. I was by no means into extreme sports, but this show made me want to be. I was riding my boogie board like a boss, because that's what they did on the show, right? Ride boogie boards? Okay, cool. I never got a skimboard, by the way, that made me upset. Anyway, Rocket Power takes place in the fictional Ocean Shores, California. It features Otto Rocket, Reggie Rocket, Twister, and the squid himself, Sam. Basically, this was about those 4 doing their typical extreme sport things like skateboarding, surfing, snowboarding, street hockey. Does that count as an extreme sport? I'm not sure. But you name it. Competing in competitions and hanging out at the Shore Shack, a snack bar owned by Otto and Reggie's father, Raymundo, and partly run by a laid-back, proverb-speaking Hawaiian man named Tito. I love Tito. I think Rocket Power really holds up today. A lot of the jokes still really make me laugh, and the characters are all really likable, even when they're doing things they're not supposed to be. Usually Otto and Twister. Reggie's typically the voice of reason, and Sam can be a bit of a pushover. One thing that does get annoying is their use of dated, try-hard slang. It can come across like they're really making an attempt to relate to the young people. But other than that, it was a good show. Each episode was interesting, the comedy was well-paced, and the drama felt like drama, even when it was sometimes blown out of proportion. But that's what kids do. Side note, Raymundo was totally a stoner. Number 7, Rocko's Modern Life. Rocko's Modern Life is a wonderful, comedic, satirical, and downright dirty cartoon about a young wallaby named Rocko living out a surreal life with his steer friend Heifer and his nervous turtle pal Filbert, and his dog Spunky, who is just a regular dog for some reason. Don't think they ever explained that. Got a little Pluto goofy thing going there. Rocko's Modern Life has received critical acclaim and has become a cult classic, and for good reason. The same way Ren and Stimpy broke barriers for the crude visual innuendos, Rocko did it in a way that was even more clever to do in a kids show. And their satire is really well done. They work for a corporation called Conglomerate Corporation, and their slogan is "We Own You." Their version of Hollywood is called Hollowwood, and they even have an episode about pollution and Rocko taking it to City Hall and taking down corporate America, and it's a whole song and dance number, and it's really intelligent and hilarious and glorious. But kids really wouldn't appreciate that type of thing. Really, they wouldn't even understand a lot of it. Unfortunately, the show was canceled after Joe Murray decided to leave production, although he did encourage Nickelodeon to keep going with the show after he passed it on to Steven Hillenburg, who was the creator of SpongeBob, but the network wasn't having it. It's a shame the show had to go in that manner, but maybe Nickelodeon made a smart move. And hey, early SpongeBob was great. Rest in peace, Rocko, and rest in peace, good SpongeBob. Number 6, Angry Beavers. So Angry Beavers is a cartoon, I guess. Okay, no, I do not hate Angry Beavers, and I can't really say it's a bad show. I especially can't say that since I'm on the internet and it's a beloved 90s cartoon, but that's neither here nor there. Basically, the show is about two young beaver bachelors named Norbert and Daggett. Love those names. All the show is really about is the two beavers doing wacky adventures as new bachelors. Norb is mostly relaxed and intelligent, and Dag is hyper and not so intelligent. This cartoon is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's a cartoon. It's not a bad cartoon. It's not a particularly great cartoon. The premise is pretty generic, and a nice chunk of the episodes pan out exactly as you would expect them to. With Angry Beavers, I never got super into it as a kid, but I would watch it if it was on, just like Real Monsters. And I feel like not much has changed as an adult. The show was still airing, and I had more time on my hands, and there was nothing on TV. Put this on, sure, why not? But will this show be remembered as dearly as shows like Rugrats or Hey Arnold? Probably not. But would it be remembered negatively? Nope. It's a decent show. Norb and Dag bicker a lot, but you can still tell they love each other. And each episode is at least one funny joke or two, and I have to say, I really love the way they converse with each other. One moment they're speaking normally, the next they're over the top and goofy. They make up their own words like spoot, and most of their discussions seem to flow in a way that I haven't really seen much before. It's almost as if the dialogue isn't scripted. Dag and Norb's back and forth is probably what I find the funniest about the show, honestly. In fact, I have to say they captured the concept of two brothers living together quite well, at least in a cartoonish beaver form. See, I don't hate the show. It's okay in my book. It's difficult for me to be too hard on it. Maybe it's nostalgia bias, who knows. Funny enough, their last episode was supposed to be about Dag and Norb finding out their cartoon characters. That would have been really interesting. And they're supposed to be in that new Nicktoons Avengers style crossover that's happening for some reason, so maybe we'll see that episode one day. Maybe not. Probably not. Anyway, number 5, Ren and Stimpy. Oh boy, Ren and Stimpy. By far the raunchiest show on the list. This is one show I never truly appreciated as a kid, but got a lot out of it as an adult. It centers around a mostly angry chihuahua named Ren and his stupid, lovable cat friend Stimpy. I had to say they don't really make cartoons like this anymore. I can't quite describe it. It was kid-friendly. Well, there was a kid-friendly version, but they threw in a lot of suggested dialogue and especially imagery, much like Rocko. And don't get me wrong, cartoons today have their fair share of suggestive jokes, but the way Ren and Stimpy did it was just so raw and unforgiving. It was also weird and random, like a lot of cartoons today, but it was an intelligent and satirical kind of random and weird, if that makes any sense at all. But unlike the other shows on the list, there were no morals or guaranteed happy endings. It was just weird, and it was gross, and it was pretty disturbing. As unsettling and disgusting as it was at times, the animation and overall tone really set it apart from other kids shows at the time, and it still stands out today. It pushed the boundaries on what creators could show in a quote-unquote kids cartoon, and is probably a pretty big reason why we're able to get away with so many gruesome things this day and age, both in children's cartoons and adults cartoons. Just look at the animated shows on Adult Swim and tell me there wasn't some sort of influence there. I think the show will live on in legend as a trendsetter and the reason for a lot of uneasy stomachs. Number 4, The Wild Thornberrys. Hello, I'm Nigel Thornberry. Sorry, had to do it just once. The Wild Thornberrys focused on a family of nature documentary filmmakers. Well, the parents did most of the filmmaking, as they travel around the world trying to get wild, exotic animals on film. But that's not all. Our main protagonist, Eliza, has the ability to talk to animals after a magical shaman bestowed the gift upon her, which is especially weird since this show takes place in the same universe as Rugrats, so I guess magic exists in the world of Rugrats. Who knew? Anywho, basically Eliza and her chimpanzee friend Darwin, see what you did there, go around befriending new animals along their parents' journeys, and usually there's some sort of moral lesson for the audience. This was a good show and a fairly unique premise. We get to see an entirely different dynamic from a family that we don't really see in cartoons, and yet it still felt like a family. I mean, just hearing the story about Donnie's origins, man, really rough stuff. I won't say much, but do you remember Tarzan? It's a bit like Tarzan, except more murdery. You know, for kids. And wow, this show actually had a proper finale of sorts. Wish more cartoons would do this before they bit the dust. Number 3, Cat Dog. Poor Cat Dog. So in case you're somehow not familiar with this Nicktoon, it chronicles the adventures of Cat and Dog, two brothers who are basically conjoined twins with their heads on one end of each other. Throughout the series, we basically see them get treated like crap by almost every single character. I'm not joking. I didn't catch this hate as a kid, but their lives really suck. This world is just full of bad people. The only nice characters that I can think of are Dog, Dylan, and Dunlap, and sometimes Lola, I guess. Even then, Dog can sometimes be too dumb to realize he's being treated poorly. And Dylan and Dunlap are pretty minor characters. Cat can be a prick a lot of the time and do some immoral things with his schemes, but even when he isn't, and he's genuinely just trying to make a better life for himself, and even Dog, he always fails and or gets put down and ridiculed for having a vision, or for dreaming for better things. How dare you, Cat, dream for a better life. I liked this show as a kid, and I can't honestly say it's a bad show. But nowadays, it just leaves me feeling depressed and hopeless. Their roommate, a mouse named Winslow, treats them like dirt all the time as well. Mostly Cat. And the Greaser dogs constantly abuse them. Again, mostly Cat. And everyone in town is either miserable or nasty to each other. And it's just not a feel-good show. I don't believe Cat Dog has ever succeeded in anything. I believe the only time they have is in the movie where they find their parents, who turns out to be a Sasquatch and a frog. That's pretty funny. But all in all, the show's fine, I guess. It's just sad to watch, and I want Cat and Dog to have a better life. And I'd like to hope that they found it off screen. Who knows? Moving on. Number 2, Hey Arnold. Okay, so this show is so good. I liked the show as a kid, but as an adult, I can really appreciate how it's written. Hey Arnold is about Arnold, who lives in Hillwood, which is a fictional city, but I don't recall this ever being said or even seen on the show. I'm getting this off the wiki, so if anyone knows when that happens, let us know in the comments. But anyway, he lives with his grandparents in a boarding house, and Arnold is by far the purest, most level-headed person on this show, and most of the time the episodes are about him solving everyone's problems or giving them advice or whatever. Though Arnold is not without his issues either. His parents are explorers and left Arnold at the boarding house as a young boy to go on one final mission, but they never came back, and we never found out what happened because the show got canceled because of stupid political contract nonsense. But it's all good because we'll be getting a TV movie in 2017 picking up where the series left off, and apparently it's going to be addressing all the unanswered questions, so that's good news. Guess I won't have to kill anybody after all. This is probably the most grounded in reality show on the list, aside from The Shape of People's Heads. The show mostly dealt with Arnold's classmates and fellow tenants at the boarding house, and while mostly pretty lighthearted, dealt with some serious issues, like Helga struggling with her borderline abusive and downright neglectful family, Chocolate Boy dealing with an addiction, and of course, teaching us all to step outside our boundaries with the classic Stupid Kid episode. What I love about the show is that it was simple, yet the characters and lessons were thought-provoking and really interesting. You even felt bad for the meaner characters at times, and that's a pretty hard thing to pull off. Hey Arnold to me captured a lot of the problems most people face throughout life, all through the eyes of a bright young kid wise beyond his years. I related to how it was like in school when most kids were selfish and rude and seemingly for no reason, until you got to understand them more, and how pretty much all of the adults like to talk and act like they've got it all figured out, but they really don't, which is something that always bothered me as a kid. And as a young adult now, I realize that all adults truly are just bigger kids trying to figure the world out. Usually cartoons will make the adults complete buffoons, but the show didn't present it like that. If you didn't get a chance to watch this series, I definitely recommend checking it out before the new movie airs. And for your number 1 Nicktoon, which I personally agree as the number 1 Nicktoon, Rugrats. Rugrats is my personal favorite cartoon from back in the day, and my second favorite Nick show of all time, just getting beat out by Avatar. So I'm really glad it made it to the top of the list. It was huge back in the 90s and early 2000s. They even have their own star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. The show featured everyday occurrences all through the eyes of babies and toddlers, which is something that I've yet to see done as well as they did it. And I think that's why the show was as popular as it was. It took regular, casual activities and turned them into big adventures, all within the minds of babies. Hell, sometimes they really did go on adventures, like really dangerous Jeez, they almost died. I'm pretty sure they killed some people. I really love how all the adults were actually relevant and had their own personalities and even side plots, because normally in a show like this they wouldn't even show the adults, or they would just be not, important. Actually, a lot of the time it was something they said or did that caused the babies' adventures in the first place, in addition to them being terrible at keeping track of their children. I mean, they've lost these babies so many times. You would think after the first or second, at least the second time a parent loses their child, they would, get their act together, but sorry, I'm getting distracted. Anyway, another thing I really appreciate about the show is how culturally progressive it was, especially for the time. Tommy's family was half Jewish and half Christian, so we not only got Christmas episodes, but Hanukkah episodes as well, We even got a Passover episode. How many cartoons have a Passover special? Susie's mother, Lucy, was a doctor, went to Harvard, and her father, Randy, was a very successful cartoon writer. Betty DeVille, Phil and Lil's mother, was a feminist and was by no means quote-unquote feminine in the traditional sense. She was strong, dominant, athletic. They even dealt with gender roles, and Chaz and Chucky dealing with the absence of his mother, adjusting to new additions to the family, and a lot of other fantastic introspective topics of discussion that I feel people wouldn't even really think to talk about in the mature fashion that they did. The show was canceled in 2004 without any official reason given. Honestly, as much as I love the show, I'm glad it ended when it did. There are only so many plot lines you can make with this concept, and while they try to change it up by adding new characters and changing the setting, and even growing them up, which was another series in itself that I also enjoyed, just not as much, it just didn't have that charm that it used to have. I can't say the series ever got bad, per se, but it was definitely on the decline with very little to save it. So I like to think they cut it off before it got too late. Besides, Spongebob had been the new cash grab for Nickelodeon by that point, but if only that show had followed the example of this one. Rugrats, a show that will always have a place in my heart. It's one of my all-time favorites. But that wraps it up for this top 10. Remember, if you want to be a part of the next poll, download the Cartoon Amino app, sign up, and search for Cartoon Universe. Your vote makes a difference. While you're at it, be sure to subscribe. If you haven't already, give this video a like and share, and keep the conversation going. Also, if you ain't following us on Twitter and Tumblr, what are you doing? Go do that immediately, right now. Okay. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this little trip down memory lane. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Peace.